Andre Cacciaturian of Nesson.com with Matt Perino of UFC.com. We're in the Honda Center in Anaheim, California, where Teemu Selanne's jersey hangs in the rafters behind us, Anaheim Ducks legend. But we're here to talk about UFC 214, specifically the other two title fights, not Jones-Cormier, but the other two. First one, Tyron Woodley, Demian Maia. The crowd was booing throughout the fight. Very tactical fight, or if you're one of the fans that were booing, you would think it was a very boring fight. There was even a boring chant during the fight. What were your thoughts on this? I personally thought it was interesting. I'll tell you why later, but what did you think?
I thought it was a mixture. I understand both sides. I think watching it myself with Jones, Cormier looming, I kind of was like, you know, let's get this thing going a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I understand Tyron Woodley's perspective. I mean, he's fighting a guy, Demian Maia, took down Carlos Condit in the first round, and it was over seconds later. You do not mess around with this guy on the ground. He stuffed 24 takedowns, I think was the final tally. Unbelievable number. Dana White came out and said that he would have liked to see him, you know, go for the finish in the first, second round, and I agree. I thought he had Demian Maia rocked. And you don't want to go to the ground with him, but when you're in that position, I feel like the biggest knock on Tyron Woodley right now is that he doesn't go out there looking to pull the trigger when he has an opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
But
that's okay.
He's
Floyd
playing the
Mayweather
game.
made a living doing that in the boxing ring. He's the greatest defensive fighter of all time, and he's fine. So, I mean, it's the same thing with Tyron Woodley. He's a very defensive, tactical fighter.
But what did Floyd Mayweather have? What did he have? He had the 49-0. He had the undefeated record. Tyron Woodley has lost to some guys, and sometimes he doesn't have the greatest performance, and he doesn't have that personality, that like Money Mayweather kind of character to kind of go back.
All right, if you want to watch an exciting fight, go watch Conor McGregor. Go watch any of the other roster in the UFC. It seems to be working for Tyron Woodley. It's his life. You can't tell him how to live it. It's his game. You can't tell him how to play it. I'm all for it. If it's boring, change the channel.
But here's my question, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here. If Tyron Woodley wants the money fights, he wants the George St. Pierre's, you've got to be a side of that. You can't just be somebody that nobody wants to watch fight. That's Dana's point, and I agree. I didn't want to watch that fight, and I know that you did.
He seems like he's okay with it though.
Then that's fine. But then don't be mad when you don't get the GSP fight.
All right, fair enough. All right, let's talk about the other title fight. Chris Cyborg coming out, beating Tanya Evinger in the third round. She was a heavy favorite coming to this fight, minus 1,100 on OddsShark. Were you surprised that it went as far as it did? Tanya Evinger really put on a good show despite losing.
I wasn't surprised at all. I was amazed at her collectiveness all throughout fight week. She wasn't scared. Most people are beaten before they ever get in the octagon with Cyborg. She's such a dominant force. And Evinger said, I'm not scared, and I'm going to be the toughest challenge that she's had yet. And she was right. She was. I loved her game plan. I loved the way that she kind of was forcing Cyborg to come to her, and as soon as she would throw a shot, she would kind of use this kind of like hunched over approach to kind of make Cyborg miss and then immediately grapple. And it was working for a while. The problem is with Cyborg, you've got to put some offense back on her, and Evinger wasn't able to do that.
But okay, let's look at it on the other side now with Cyborg. How are you content with the way you won this fight? It was a third-round victory. It wasn't a vintage dominant Cyborg performance. It was good, but it wasn't what we've seen in the past. If you're Cyborg, how do you feel about this?
I think you're okay with it. You wanted that belt, and you got it. Evinger is a veteran of the game. She may be a 135-pounder, but her style is kind of a little bit tricky with Cyborg, and she had a 2-inch reach advantage. She was a little bit bigger than Cyborg, which when they got in there, I was even surprised to see, because Cyborg's this larger-than-life featherweight that we're used to her just kind of towering over people. Even if not maybe actual measurables, it's just her dominance. Evinger was game. She wasn't scared of her, and that's how that fight played out. She was smart. She picked her shots. She showed her boxing skills. It was a good performance.
And Cyborg, her UFC contract ends in October. It'll be very interesting to see what happens when we get to that bridge. But until then, keep it on UFC.com and Nesson.com for all of your UFC news.